Charleston sunlight always had a way of softening my memories. That golden haze spilling through magnolia trees used to feel like comfort, like home. But that morning, when my phone buzzed, I didn't know it would shatter that comfort forever. "Emma?" It was my mom's voice, tight and hesitant. "I just wanted to tell you before you heard it from someone else." Her words drifted through the receiver, careful, almost rehearsed. "Tell me what?" I asked, setting my coffee down. Then came the sentence that hollowed me out. "I sold the house." For a moment, I couldn't breathe. My childhood home, the one my late father built with his own hands, was gone, just like that. "What do you mean sold?" I whispered, my voice cracking. "When? Why didn't you tell me?" Mom sighed on the other end. "It was time, Emma. The house was too much for me to handle." But that wasn't the truth I heard. I heard, "You didn't matter enough to be told." That was the house where I'd taken my first steps, where Dad taught me to ride a bike, where every wall still held his laughter like echoes in the paint. "You could have called," I said softly. Mom didn't answer. Just a quiet exhale, then the faint click of goodbye. My apartment suddenly felt smaller, the walls pressing in as if the past itself was closing around me. I opened an old photo album, faded pictures of our white porch, Dad's old truck in the driveway, Mom smiling like the world was simple back then. It wasn't just a house, it was the last piece of him I had left. And now, it was gone. But I had to see it one last time. That night, I booked a flight back to Charleston. I didn't know what I'd find waiting for me, only that I needed answers. The past was calling, and I couldn't ignore it any longer. The air in Charleston hit me like a memory I wasn't ready for. Warm, heavy, filled with the scent of salt and honeysuckle. Every corner of that town whispered my childhood back to me. The taxi rolled down familiar streets, past the little bakery Dad used to take me to every Sunday morning. The sign was new, but the smell of cinnamon still drifted through the air. For a moment, it almost felt like nothing had changed. Until we turned onto Birchwood Lane. That's when I saw it. My house. Or what used to be my house. The white paint was gone, replaced by a deep navy blue. The porch swing where Dad and I spent countless evenings was missing, and in its place, a modern bench. It didn't even creak. There was a sold sign still stuck in the ground. I stood there on the sidewalk, my suitcase beside me, heart pounding in my throat. Someone else's laughter echoed from the backyard, children playing where my memories lived. It felt like watching my life through a window I couldn't open. Then I saw her, my mother, standing on the porch, arms crossed, looking smaller than I remembered. "You shouldn't have come," she said softly as I walked up the path. "You sold it, Mom. You didn't even tell me." Her eyes shimmered with something between guilt and exhaustion. "There are things you don't understand." "Then help me," I whispered, my voice shaking. "Make me understand." But she didn't answer. Instead, she handed me a small brass key, old, worn, cold in my palm. "The attic," she said. "You should see what's up there." Then she turned away, walking toward her car parked down the street. I stood there in silence, staring at the key. For years, Mom had forbidden me to go into that attic, said it was full of broken things and dust. But now she wanted me to open it? Something inside me shifted. Curiosity? Fear? Maybe both. I took a deep breath and walked toward the house that no longer belonged to me.
The front door creaked, just like it always had. Each step felt like walking back through time. And as I reached for the attic door, I realized this wasn't just about the house. It was about the truth I was never meant to find.
The attic smelled exactly the same as I remembered. Dust, cedar, and thyme. Sunlight filtered through the small circular window, turning the air into golden smoke. Everything was still, silent, waiting. I climbed the narrow stairs slowly, the old wood groaning beneath my feet. Each step felt like an echo from a forgotten world. When I pushed the door open, a soft breeze brushed past me, as if the house itself exhaled. Boxes lined the walls, marked in Dad's handwriting, Emma's drawings, Christmas 2004, lake house plans. His neat, steady letters made my chest tighten. I knelt by one of the boxes and opened it. Inside were pieces of my childhood. My first report card, a cracked snow globe from Disney, and a photograph of the three of us sitting on that old porch swing. Dad's arm was around Mom, both smiling. I was 6, grinning with missing teeth. It hurt to look at how happy we were. As I kept digging, I found something strange. A small wooden chest, tucked behind a stack of frames. The brass latch was slightly rusted, but it opened easily with the key Mom had given me. Inside were letters, dozens of them, all sealed, all addressed to my mother. Each envelope bore my father's handwriting, but the dates, they were written after the day he died. My breath caught in my throat. I opened one carefully, the paper trembling in my hands. "My dearest Evelyn," it began. "If you're reading this, it means I couldn't tell you in person." His words were raw, trembling with regret. He wrote about debts, about losing his job months before the accident, about not wanting us to suffer because of his failures. He wrote, "The house," he wrote, "isn't ours anymore. I mortgaged it to cover what I couldn't fix. Please don't let Emma know. Let her keep the memory of home as something pure." I froze. The truth hit me like a wave. Mom didn't sell the house out of coldness or greed. She sold it because she'd been carrying his secret for years, alone. Every ounce of anger I'd been holding began to crumble. I sat there on the attic floor, surrounded by letters from a man who had tried to protect us, even in his silence. Tears slipped down my cheeks, but for the first time, they weren't from pain. They were from understanding. I stayed there for hours, reading every word, every apology, every wish he never got to speak. And somewhere between those fragile pages, I found the father I'd lost long ago, not as a ghost, but as a man who loved us the best way he knew how. That night, I realized the house wasn't the only thing I needed to let go of. I needed to let go of the anger too. The sun had already dipped below the trees when I finally left the attic. The house was dark and hollow now, but it no longer felt cruel. It felt heavy, like it was still holding the weight of everything we never said. I found Mom sitting on the front porch steps, her hands clasped around a cup of cold tea. She didn't look surprised to see me. Maybe she knew I'd go up there. Maybe she'd been waiting for this moment too. "You found them, didn't you?" she asked quietly. I nodded, the stack of letters still in my hands. "You should have told me, Mom." Her eyes met mine, tired but steady. "I know," she whispered, "but how could I? You were just a kid when he died.
You needed to believe your father was strong, not a man drowning in mistakes. I wanted to be angry again. I really did. But instead, all I felt was this ache in my chest that words couldn't touch. I said, "You carried it all by yourself." She nodded slowly. "I thought if I protected you from the truth, I'd protect the good memories too." Silence stretched between us, soft and fragile like glass. All the years of distance, of small talk and careful words, suddenly made sense. We weren't cold. We were just protecting each other from the same pain. I sat beside her, the wood of the porch warm beneath my legs, the faint sound of cicadas humming somewhere in the distance. For the first time in years, it felt like we were sitting together, not as strangers, but as two women who finally understood each other. "Dad was trying to fix everything," I said quietly. "I know," she replied. "He always wanted to protect us, even when he couldn't." Her voice cracked, just a little, and I realized she hadn't cried in front of me in over a decade. Without thinking, I reached out and held her hand. For a long moment, we just sat there, watching the shadows move across the yard that wasn't ours anymore. And in that quiet, I felt something inside me unclench, that bitterness I'd carried for so long, finally melting into something softer. "I think Dad would have liked the blue," Mom said suddenly, a small smile playing at her lips. I laughed through my tears. "Yeah," I whispered, "he probably would have painted it himself." It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was a beginning, and maybe that was enough for now.
The next morning, the light hit differently. It wasn't the same golden haze of my childhood. It was quieter, gentler, like the house itself was saying goodbye. I walked through each room slowly, my fingers brushing against the walls one last time. Every mark, every scratch, every memory whispered back at me. In the kitchen, I could almost see Dad flipping pancakes, singing terribly off-key to the radio, while Mom laughed from the sink. It all felt like a photograph I'd stepped into, one that would fade if I stayed too long. I made my way upstairs and opened the attic door once more. Sunlight poured in through the window, hitting the old wooden floor and a pool of soft gold. I placed the letters back in the chest, tying them with a ribbon from Mom's old dresses. "He belongs here," I whispered, "with this house, with the memories." Downstairs, Mom was waiting by the front door. We didn't speak much. We didn't need to. Sometimes love isn't in the words. It's in the silence that holds everything else together. I handed her the brass key. She said softly, "Keep it. It's still your home, even if it's not ours anymore." I nodded, slipping it into my pocket. It felt lighter now, like it had already forgiven me. When I stepped outside, the wind carried the faint scent of honeysuckle again. Children's laughter echoed from next door, new life blooming where mine once was. I smiled, realizing that maybe that's how it's supposed to be. We leave pieces of ourselves behind, so others can make new memories on top of them. As I walked away, I turned back one last time. The blue paint shimmered in the morning light, and for a moment, it didn't hurt anymore. It wasn't the house that kept him alive. It was me. It was us. The love that survived everything. And in that quiet truth, I finally let go. I wasn't losing home. I was carrying it with me, everywhere I go, always. Sometimes letting go
isn't the end of love. It's how we learn to keep it alive.